and welcome to the Bot Box. What are the chances of getting 2 robots from the reboot in a row? I know, slim. But here we are, talking about an orange and white invertible robot armed with a drum spinner called Concussion. I hope you like carnage, because we're going to have plenty of carnage. Strap yourself in for chaos. Not that chaos. This kind of chaos. Concussion made its debut in Series 9 of Robot Wars, landing in Heat C, where in Round 1 they drew Axe-wielding Axelbot Chimera 2, Vertical Spinner Tauron, and Hammerbot Thor. Concussion's first target was Tauron. One hit from Concussion stopped Tauron completely. Concussion's next target was Chimera 2. Concussion got some hits on Chimera 2's wedge, but backed off when Thor rocked up to attack. Concussion attacked again once Thor backed off, and ended up wearing Chimera 2 as a hat. Very affectionate it was too. Once Chimera 2 was released, it too was down for the count, so Concussion went for Thor. However, Concussion was barely alive, but Concussion was through. It's through to the round robin stages, where it first faced Thor. Concussion hit Thor early on before Thor hit the pit release and sent Dead Metal on a rampage. Open the pit, Roguehouse Robot option. Dead Metal managed to catch Concussion and gave it a battle scar, but on release, Concussion only had one wheel working. Fortunately, Concussion's second wheel came back to life and they hit Thor again. Ominous CO2 leaked from Thor. Concussion hit Thor some more, causing more CO2 to vent. Eventually, Concussion got stuck on the pit, because the pit wasn't quite level that series. And Thor, driving up Concussion, caused a belt to come off. Thor hammered Concussion and sent Matilda on a rampage, which caused Concussion to get even more stuck because it was wedged under Matilda. So Thor hammered them some more. Dead Metal's intervention caused Thor and Matilda to back off, but Concussion was still stuck on the pit. When Thor returned, after a driving error meant Concussion could hit Thor and turn them over, and having vented so much CO2, Thor couldn't self-right. Dang it, Concussion, I was rooting for Thor. Next up was Wedgebot with a spinny thing Heavy Metal, but they had a ton of repairs to do. They got their bot fixed in time, just. Concussion chased Heavy Metal around the arena until it managed to deliver a bunch of hits to Heavy Metal's wedge, the last turning Heavy Metal over. Concussion then pushed Heavy Metal to a wall and hit Heavy Metal so hard an axle sheared and one of its big exposed wheels went straight out of the arena. Now beached on its own spinny thing, Heavy Metal was down for the count. So next up for them was Ring Spinner, not Speed Spinner, though spinners spin quickly. MR Speed Squared. As soon as the fight started, MR Speed Squared tried to get their spinner up to speed, but instead did a gyro dance. The bot was far from 100%, before Concussion hit the ring spinner into a corner. Concussion hit MR Speed Squared some more, but the damage was done. MR Speed Squared spinner was down. So, MR Speed Squared opened the pit, but Concussion was waiting and hit MR Speed Squared some more, even trying to pit MR Speed Squared, but just missed. MR Speed Squared managed to get away. Concussion didn't miss when sending MR Speed Squared to Dead Metal. MR Speed Squared escaped and nearly pitted itself, so Concussion hit the ring spinners some more, sending them to Dead Metal again, and after that, it's a kill-a-lot. Once released, MR Speed Squared nearly drove into the pit but got away. Concussion hit them some more, but ended up leaking ominous smoke, which slowed Concussion down a lot, and MR Speed Squared was able to push Concussion around. Indeed, something in Concussion had caught fire. Still, as time ran out and the judges were called in, Concussion was still on the attack. They ruled in favour of Concussion, did the judges. So, Concussion went through to the heat final where it faced Thor again. Thor hit Concussion head on with its wedge early on, twice before the two bots danced around each other. Another hit followed before Concussion started hitting Thor. At this point, Thor had fired its hammer once. The intervals between Concussion hits got longer before Concussion, thanks to Thor, ended up with dead metal. Thor finally fired the hammer but missed and ended up venting CO2 again. Thor did manage to chase Concussion to the pit release, which opened the pit. After Concussion hit Thor some more, Thor vented more CO2, but when Concussion turned Thor over, Thor was able to self-right. Concussion hit Thor again after Thor missed with a hammer blow again, and a pushing war ensued. One Thor was winning before the two bots separated. Concussion managed to push Thor a little bit. Thor stopped, but as time ran out and the judges were called in, Thor sent Concussion to the flame pit. The judges ruled in favour of Concussion. Dang it, Concussion. I was rooting for Thor. So that put Concussion through to the grand final at their first attempt, where they first faced two horizontal bar spinners, Ironside 3 and Carbide. Talk about the rough draw. Concussion reversed into the pit, opening it, and took a hit from Carbide early on. A hit from Ironside 3 followed before both bar spinners took it in turn to hit Concussion, which had not actually moved that much from the pit release tower. Carbide's last hit sent Concussion to shunt, where they got axed, and if they weren't dead by the time they got to shunt, they were dead after shunt axed them. Concussion returned for Series 10, landing in Heat D, which I predicted Concussion would win. Yeah, no hard feelings. No hard feelings. I figured the draw was good for Concussion. In its first fight, it drew Crusher Andrew 4000 and Flail Spinner Nuts 2. Andrew 4000 went for Concussion early on, but being the type of bot Crushers like, boxy, Concussion got out of there and hit Nuts 2. However, getting too close to Nuts 2 is dangerous, and Concussion got a damaged wheel for its trouble. So, after that, Concussion's movement was impaired. Andrew 4000 went for Concussion, along with one of Nuts 2's mini-bots. Concussion got a hit in, but got caught by the arena flipper, turning them over. Andrew 4000 went after Concussion again and finally got a hold of Concussion, locking the two in unholy robot matrimony. But Andrew 4000 went down, so it couldn't release Concussion. Concussion couldn't get free, so both bots were counted out. Nuts 2 hit Concussion some more too. So that meant Concussion was in Robot Redemption, where it faced Horizontal Bar Spinner and wedge-wielding Custorbot, the kegs. One of the kegs, basically its weapon was so badly damaged that they had a wedge on instead of the bar. Concussion's first hit took out one half of the kegs completely, just tore it asunder. And Concussion hit the second keg onto the arena flipper. And after it flew, Concussion hit keg 2 twice more before it too died. Keg 1, or rather what was left of keg 1, got hit again as the Kilowatt roasted keg 2 over the flame pit. So, Concussion was through in less than a minute. Next up for them in the heat semi-final was Flipper Iron Ore 6. Concussion hit Iron Ore 6 early on. Early hits taking Iron Ore 6 close to shunt, but it escaped. But faced a barrage of hits from Concussion, the last one turning Iron Ore 6 over. Iron Ore 6's flipper in Series 10 only worked in the test arena and not in the actual arena. So Iron Ore 6 could not self-right. So that put Concussion through to the heat final, where they faced Nuts 2. And this time, they had extra wheel protection, two very sacrificial bits of polycarbonate armour. They called them the Nut Busters. Nuts 2 got some hits early on, as Concussion tried to get away but got flung by the floor flipper, landed right way up there. Whilst trying to dodge Nuts 2 again, Concussion drove over the floor flipper, but this time they landed upside down. Now, Concussion is invertible, so it can run upside down, but the weapon is more effective right way up, so they tried to gyro dance themselves back the right way up and hit one of, before they managed to hit one of Nuts' mini-bots. But the Nut Busters, two polycarbonate sheets, meant they couldn't actually quite get back over. A few more Nuts 2 hits took Concussion to shunt, where they got axed, and the guard stopped. It was clear that a guard had stopped the wheel from moving. The team tried asking help for shunt, but yeah, that's pigs flying a more likely situation. It's just not happening. One of the Nut Busters also came off, not the one that had stuck the wheel though, the other one. After a few more axe blows from Shunt and hits from Nuts 2 and a prod from the mini-bot, Concussion was counted out. You know what? I couldn't have been happier to be proved wrong, because it's Nuts 2 that did it. You'll understand when Nuts' episode comes up. It's fun. But now, it's Carnage o'clock. As Concussion was in the 10 robot rumble with Iron Ore 6, Thor, Tracked Crusher Action, Angled Spinner Expulsion, Drum Spinner Sabretooth, Vertical Spinner Big Nipper, Axe Bot Terahertz, and Flippers Apollo and Eruption. Concussion's first target was Traction, and Concussion took off a track in a single hit. Thor, which had a Concussion sticker on as Concussion was Thor's target, opened the pit, which Concussion was dangerously close to. It's a case of a metre to one side and Concussion would have been in the pit straight away. Expulsion then fell into the pit. Concussion's next target was Apollo, coincidentally Sabretooth had also gone after Apollo. Concussion managing to turn Apollo over. Then Iron Ore 6 set off the Fog of War. Once that died down, Concussion got chased by Terahertz, before setting off the Fog of War again. Once the fog died down, Concussion went after Thor and Eruption, in that order. Iron Ore 6 then sent Sir Killalot on a rampage before setting off the Fog of War again, and paid for it by flying air floor flipper and landing upside down. Concussion, meanwhile, was getting pushed around by Thor and getting hammered, but escaped to pit Iron Ore 6, which was what Terahertz was trying to do. Then Thor got a hold of Concussion and pitted them. So that was Concussion in the pit with Traction, Expulsion and Iron Ore 6, and Vengeance for Thor. Concussion, the robots in the pit were later joined by every single robot not named Terahertz or Eruption, and that was Concussion out. But this is not the end. There was the World Series, where in the tag team battle, Concussion teamed up with Thor to fight two horizontal spinners, Canadian bot Terra Turtle, which was made by the same people who made the kegs, and American bot Cathad. Right, just getting these ready. Concussion and Terra Turtle were out first, Concussion turning Terra Turtle over and taking the Canadian bot out completely in a single hit. So Concussion tagged Thor and Cathad joined the battle, because it had to. Thor pushed and hammered Cathad, mostly just missing with the hammer, but did enough damage to take out the spinner. When Concussion rocked up without being tagged and took Cathad out of commission altogether. Farewell. Wait. For once, someone called out everyone on rule breaking. Let's see. We need these. Yep. Not allowed. So, Cathad and Turtle were counted out, but after a discussion, Team Rest of the World got the points. So, next for Concussion was Russian Flipper Weber, with 1B YouTube subtitles. The two bots danced around each other early on before Concussion hit Weber and turned it over. Weber self-righted but took a long time to do so, and Concussion hit Weber again. Weber turned Concussion over twice, not using the flipper, just pushing it over, and sent them to dead metal. Concussion had a harder time escaping than Weber, but when Weber set dead metal on a rampage, using the Rogue House Robot option, Concussion had got far enough away from dead metal for Weber to beat the bot attacked by dead metal. Weber ended up tangling with the House Robots and lost a wheel in the process. After a few more hits from Concussion, Weber was toast. There's still been no Series 11 for Concussion to return to, but some of the team have been on BattleBots with Monsoon and Ragnarok. Monsoon doing the better of the two. There's something to like about a team that were in the audience one year and in the final with their very next robot next year. It's a case of the general advice is start small and get bigger when it comes to robots. Concussion just dived in at the deep end with the heavyweights. There's just something to just being fans of something and deciding, yeah, let's do this. On form, Concussion could be lethal. The Kegs fights, the Kegs weren't a brilliantly competitive robot, but that shows that Concussion is not a robot you'll be happy facing. And managing to get a win against Thor when for most of the fight it looked like it was going to go the other way. Yeah, I was rooting for Thor. But the fact that they never gave up even when things were going wrong, that says something. So, yeah, solid bot. But who's next? Oh yeah, solid bot when it wasn't on fire. Who's next? Kaiki. Please be kind. Nasty Warrior. Okay. Until next week, Callison244 out.